the book has got to end. The curtain has got to fall. But in life, nobody writes the end.
It's a continuation.
In life, the curtain doesn't fall. That's right.
That's
right. And that means that the portrait, in the three acts, portrait delivered in the three acts, and the portrait delivered between the covers of the book, is limited by that. When is it? Anna Karenina is defined, for example. Tolstoy brings her through her situation to her end, and therefore we know something about Anna Karenina, which we never know about each other in life. Anna's fate is sealed. When she jumps before the train, her life is over, and we've seen something. We've been carried on a journey, and we learned something. But the journey is only useful insofar as it makes you know how little you know. So that when you meet Anna in life, you'll know more about it than you would have without Tolstoy, and knowing enough then to know how little you know. Does that make sense to you?
That's fascinating. But I want to digress and pick up on something you said about being humble. I defy you to tell me that James Baldwin is humble. Humble. What is humility to James Baldwin? Humility
is knowing that you finally, to tell you the truth as far as I can. Humility means that after all you're working in the sight of God. Otherwise you're not doing anything.
Neatly put. But not humble to man.
Oh no.
Not humble to any other man.
No.
Let's talk a minute, Jim, about central themes. Okay. What are your grandest themes?
I don't know. You see, I'm a little afraid of themes. Capital. I could say love, the capital L.
Do you think they lock you in and prohibit or preclude your expanding?
No, I don't think that. I think that I'm not sure I really believe in themes as such, if you see what I mean. You write a love story. Well, you can say the theme is love. But once you begin to operate with any theme, let's say love, for example, since it's on the table, it splinters. It breaks down into a million components. And it's different for everybody, and it's different at every hour of every day. You see what I mean? So the effort is to arrive at a kind of impossible precision. To try to capture that moment. The moment between two people who love each other, that moment of the rupture, that moment leading to the rupture, the moment leading to the reconciliation. It is a mosaic made up of very, very minute particles. And so if you're dealing with it that way, you don't have time to pull back and see it as your critics may, or as posterity might, as a theme, war and peace. But war and peace is a mosaic,
right?
Made up of a million small details, and it's in that sense that the artisan, myself in this case, distrust all the enormity of themes which are very useful for politicians and demagogues, and even theologians, but it doesn't work for an artist. The concept doesn't work for an artist.
Do you write for blacks, or do you write with more or less a universal appeal?
Well, one hopes, you write for whosoever will. That's the truth. You write out of your own experience. But once one examines that experience, for example, the experience of being a black American, which is after all my story, my point of view is where I come from. It's whence I came. That point of view, though, point of view of a black American, embraces much more than that section of New York City in which I was born and which I grew up. Because to be a black American meant that I had to know very, very soon where my mother worked. I sometimes went to pick her up so I could see the difference at once in my mother's kitchen and the kitchen in downtown where she spent so much more of her time than she could with us. It meant that I understood when I went to pay my father's union dues something about the white world which had trapped us where we were. And that meant that I had to begin to look at white people very soon, very hard. And I had to understand them because I had to be able to outwit them. They were waiting for me up the road. I knew this by the time I was 7. So that, in a sense, the bitterness of one's beginnings, if it doesn't destroy you, gives you a kind of perception which saved me later, in any case, from hatred. Because hatred is always self-hatred, and there's something suicidal about it, though there's nothing mysterious about it at all. You see what I mean? So that when you ask me how I write for blacks, of course I do. But really for whosoever will, because you see, white, I keep repeating this, to be a white person in this country, and really for the most part in the world, but especially in this country, is simply a state of mind. It is almost in the category of a fatal disease.
How so, a state of mind?
A state of mind, meaning a moral choice. A state of mind because white people are a very recent invention, first of all. And I say invention. And in America, for example, it's very clear in a sense. People who came here for great complex of reasons, none of which they've faced yet, which is part of their problem. And were not white before they got here. They were Irish, or English, or Polish, or Dutch, or German. They didn't become white until they got here. And they had to become white here in self-defense because I was here. And I was here for them. I was here to work for them, to keep them white, in fact. It turns out that the doctrine of white supremacy, is probably one of the grimmest events in human history, since the discovery of syphilis. Because it blinds so many people to the truth about themselves and makes them to commit all manner of crimes. They think against the other, but it's never against the other. It is always against oneself. If I decide to murder your child or to rape you, that's a terrible violation of you and of your child, of course. But then there is no hope for me at all. People live with what they've done and have to pay for what they do. They do it willingly or unwillingly, but there is no way not to pay it. That's the crisis in this country now.
Every novelist, every writer, I suppose, is, because he is an observer of human nature, is in a way a kind of historian. And with your writings and the controversy which surrounds you, what have you seen through the years since Harlem transpiring that has brought us to where we are now? And how much progress has there been for black people?
That's a very, very loaded question, which will keep us here all night to try to answer, really answer it. But to try to, how can I answer it? Let's begin at the end. How much progress has there been, you ask me? It's a difficult question to answer because I had to say something very cruel, but it's true. The word progress in America is applied in this arena, the arena of what we call quote unquote race relations, whatever that may mean. Progress is always a word which means in this arena it is a white man's word, which really means progress is measured by how closely I become white, how closely I begin to resemble a white person. This is really what the Republic means when it talks about progress. It means that you and I have become progressively less and less and less and less savage. Our origins being savage is proven by the color of our skin. Now this is obviously a myth, but a myth has tremendous force.